Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. It's no secret that Dexter is a wildly popular television series, but it is also no secret that the ending has sucked on 2 separate occasions now. So going into Dexter Resurrection, I was excited but extremely worried. My faith in the writers of this series was simply at an all-time low. But right off rip, I must say that I was pleasantly surprised by this show. The showrunner and Michael C. Hall were very forthcoming about New Blood being the end of his character. I mean, he literally got shot through the heart. It doesn't get more final than that. So naturally, some logic leaps had to be made in order to continue the story of Dexter Morgan. And it was certainly a little bit clunky at the start. Angela just forgiving Dexter even though he killed Logan is an ass pull for sure. And somehow the cold temperature saving him from a fatal gunshot is also some bullshit. But I'm more than willing to accept it because what we got following is so much better than New Blood and Dexter Season 8. I feel like Resurrection really took the aspects of New Blood that worked and grinded out most of its rough edges. And one of those key changes was making Harrison more likable. I'm like 90% sure they wanted to make a Harrison-centric series following the events of New Blood, but the main reason they couldn't do that was because they made Harrison so unlikable. Nobody wanted a show with just him because we didn't like him enough to care. He was just so whiny during New Blood. And it's justifiable given that Dexter did abandon him, but at a certain point when someone just constantly berates and yells at your main character, it starts to get grating and annoying. However, here in Resurrection, the writers gave Harrison some of the fatherly and warm traits that endear us to Dexter so much, even in spite of his serial killing ways. Harrison looks after and cares for Elsa's son, and even the kill that he commits at the start of the series was to put an end to a serial rapist and to protect someone else. Essentially, the writers took some of the reasons we love Dexter so much and applied them to Harrison. And honestly, I think we've gotten to a point where, once Resurrection runs its course over a few seasons, I could actually see a Harrison-led series maybe working, which is something I thought I would never say. Harrison as a detective on some kind of police force with Dexter as his ghost dad could maybe hit. Getting to the main attraction, I really liked that we gave Dexter a thematic character arc in this first season of Resurrection. Dexter, following his shot to the heart, has realized that when he actually does die, he wants to have people he cares about by his side. He doesn't want to be left all alone. And rekindling with Harrison and trying to be a present father in his life becomes his main priority, outside of killing people, of course. But the issue with all of this for Dexter is that most of the people he loves are dead and gone, or have completely turned on him because of his past actions, such as Batista. And this season is really a great juggling act for Dexter, as he tries to juggle his criminal life with his family life with Harrison, and juggle his present with the ghosts of his past. Really riveting stuff here that was largely a return to what made the initial series so good. Dexter struggling to find balance between his 2 lives was always the core of this show when it was at its best. Now, as for the main plot with Leon Prater and crew, it was much better than I expected it to be. After watching the trailer, I was extremely worried about this goofy-ass assembling the Avengers of serial killer storyline, but it played out in a far more realistic and satisfying way than I anticipated. I mean, so many great moments came from it. The tattoo collector's reaction to Dexter revealing himself as the Bay Harbor Butcher, Dexter framing Lady Vengeance, the twist reveal of the Gemini killer really being 2 different people, Prater pulling up on Dexter and Harrison at a restaurant, Prater finding out the truth and strapping Batista to the same table that Dexter killed his brother on. I was at the edge of my seat for pretty much all of these 10 episodes. Part of me does wish that Prater could have survived this season, as I do think there was more that could have been done with his character, but that final scene where Dexter killed him was pretty great. It honestly kind of reminded me of when Dexter took out the Trinity Killer, definitely more of a conversation than Dexter typically has with his victims. To finally address the elephant in the room, I have extreme mixed feelings about Batista this season. On one hand, I do like that he was 100% onto Dexter, as having someone hunting Dexter just historically provides the best intensity and suspense for this series, but for like the first 6 episodes or so, it just felt like he was such a footnote within the narrative. Really only by the end of episode 7 did it feel like things were starting to pick up again in terms of the Batista versus Dexter storyline. But of course, by far the biggest shock of the season was the creative decision to kill Batista at the end of episode 9. And I mean, it was a grand, impactful moment, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't agree with the decision to kill Batista. Dexter is not a good guy, and doesn't deserve a happy ending, and my fear is that might be the direction we're going in now. The general fan base had such a negative response to the prior attempts at a Dexter series finale because of the way that Dexter was exiled and killed, not by the fact that he received ramifications for his actions. And I just fear that the creative team is learning the wrong lesson from their previous failures. I think Batista finally catching Dexter and proving that he is the Bay Harbor Butcher was the most satisfying ending that was an available possibility. Joey Quinn coming back to catch Dexter is not nearly as satisfying, and Detective Wallace eventually catching Dexter is also not nearly as satisfying. So in a weird way, the creative team has bought a lot more favor with me just on the weight of how good this season was, but my fears and worries in regards to how this ship is going to land are still very present. While there's definitely enough breadcrumbs to keep me interested in season 2, such as the looming hunt for the New York Ripper, Dexter having a bunch of new killers to target, and the potential for Quinn to resurface in a more prominent role. But unfortunately, I think the most interesting breadcrumb has been thrown away. That of course being Batista on the hunt for the Bay Harbor Butcher. Now to go over some minor things that I want to at least touch upon, my god is Blessing a weird character. I don't know if it's just me, but every scene with him felt awkward and weird. I imagine he was meant to serve as a bit of a red herring for the New York Ripper's true identity, but outside of this purpose, he just seemed a little too trusting of Dexter and was the character that stuck out to me the most in a bad way. Detective Wallace was also a character that didn't fully work for me. She certainly grew on me as the season went on, but the whole autistic detective thing has been done so many times at this point, and she really just felt like a worse done, great value brand version of Will Graham. Essentially the bastard child of combining Will Graham and Baby Driver. The cameos of past characters was pretty cool though. The first 3 during Dexter's coma were a little over the top, but it was pretty great to see Dokes, Trinity, and Miguel back. But my favorite of these cameos was actually Brian during the final episode. I feel like this was the most seamless of these callback cameo type moments, and seeing him on the very table that Dexter took his life on was poetically awesome. So yeah, overall I largely loved what we got here with Dexter Resurrection, and I can't reiterate this enough, even though I have some issues with the season. This is the best Dexter content we've gotten since season 4. Against all odds, it was a massive success, and I'm blown away by the resilience of this franchise. Even a shot to the heart couldn't keep this series down. Overall, I'd give Dexter Resurrection an 8.5 out of 10. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we finally get a satisfying conclusion to Dexter Morgan's story. Well, if you made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Dexter Resurrection. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? And what would you rate the season out of 10? Also, what do you think of Dexter Original Sin getting cancelled? I know that series was a bit polarizing, but I'm personally surprised to see it cancelled after just 1 season. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe for more Screen Stories content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.